So here we go. Another fine edition of the Weekly Driver podcast. I'm your host, Bruce Aldrich, and today my co-host, James Rivia, is actually down in Monterey, not for the car show, but for the ATT Pebble Beach.
I'm actually in Pebble Beach for the U.S. Open.
So you're the longtime car journalist, and we're going to talk some cars today, various topics.
Sure.
One of those topics, you had an opportunity to write something, and they wanted your opinion for, was it USA Today, did you say?
It is, yeah. It was kind of interesting. It kind of came out of the clear blue. It's an editor in one of their special sections who is going to put out some information for readers of the newspaper, and they're going to have some sort of contest. I don't know much about that, but it was interesting just to get my opinion, and really I want to get your opinion about four different areas of the car world. And she listed four areas, listing my favorite car show or car shows, favorite NASCAR track, favorite motorsports race, and my favorite attractions that might be of interest to other car lovers, whether they're museums or driving experiences, etc. So it was really fun. I never really thought about it in that way. So I made a little list and I forwarded it to her this morning. So it was kind of fun to go through. So I'm really interested in going through each one with you and finding out what you think as well.
Sure. What you say a car show? So what'd you pick for car show?
Well, it's something that you and I have both been to. We've been to the LA Auto Show, and now it's also including Automobility. Oddly, it's held in November, but it's the first major car show of the new year. So you see new concepts, you see all of the alternative vehicle fuels, some fuel cars, some for the first time, and then you see lots and lots of new additions of cars, new years of cars. So I listed that as number one, and then I kind of listed Monterey Auto Week as number two, with all the different things that are available at Monterey. So it's sensory overload. And then I listed number three as another thing that you and I have gone to, which is called Pacific Coast Dream Machines in Half Moon Bay, California. And pretty much what I said about it is if you have $30, you can put your vehicle, your engine, any kind of engine on display at this old airport, and I just call it the Everyman's Car Show or Engine Show.
It actually is an engine show, that Dream Machines. It's anything that has a motor, and the more outrageous, the better. And then they actually exhibit them. They get to let you see them run, and if it's a tractor, the tractor drives, and if it's a big block Hemi and it could be in a race boat. They even have some boats there. They fire them up, and yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So what are your opinions about other shows that you've been to through the years, with the LA or Monterey Auto Week, if there's a specific area in either of those two things that you really enjoyed?
Well, definitely Monterey Auto Week, because it has anything from the auction houses. I really like the auction houses because you get to see just a range of vehicles up close and personal, and you get to see what they're worth, right? Anybody can put a price on them and tell you what they think it's worth, but it's fun to go see what the auction block says it's worth.
Absolutely. It's so they go through so many cars, and there are different shows, the real highbrow cars, and then the cars that you and I have both really liked, Mecum Auction, and I think they go through 500 or 600 cars in 3 days. It's pretty amazing.
Right, and there again, the cars drive, right? They don't push them. They don't push them up there. The motors run and they drive up there, up on the auction block and across. So, that's kind of fun too. If it's a particularly loud car, good sounding car, so that's fun to do too. I think that Half Moon Bay. It's called a mini car. What was that one? Remember that one down there at the Pebble Beach? That
Mecum?
Week, the car week.
Yeah, it was Mecum Auctions?
Yes, but they have mini cars.
Oh, mini cars, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's so
Yeah.
unusual. It's stuff you've never seen before, or most likely.
Oh, yeah, that's the one in Pacific Grove that's cars that are 2,000 cc or smaller, that one
Right,
as well?
Yeah, the mini cars.
Yeah, that's the little car show. The little car show. Yeah, that's fun, too. It's right on the main drag of Pacific Grove, and again, it's a car that might be worth a lot, but a car that might not be worth very much, but people who really love what they have, and they love to talk about them. It's a blast.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the European cars. There's always a few there, not a lot, but the equivalent of, say, a Model T or Model A from back in the 20s. You know, you never think about what the Europeans were doing, and their cars were similar, but what, maybe 3/4 size of the American cars?
Yes.
They look like they're, homemade kit cars or something, but those are interesting.
And then Bruce, on the number 2 on the list, the second area she talked about was NASCAR, and I have to admit I've never been to a NASCAR event, but I think you have. And I just listed Charlotte because when I've watched it on TV, it just seemed like an iconic raceway and kind of defines, with the crowd, the enthusiasm, the racetrack itself, it kind of defines what NASCAR racing is all about. So I know you know more about that sport than I do. So what are your thoughts on NASCAR?
Yeah, Charlotte's a good one. I think everybody who's never even heard of NASCAR has heard of Daytona and the track there. That has to be to me the most iconic, best track. That's a bucket list to go to. And then also Talladega. So
Talladega, thank you. Yes.
Those two would be my number one. I've been to like Dover. Probably, actually, it's fun to watch, but it's probably not. If I could go anywhere, that wouldn't be number one. And Sonoma's not number one. The road course, the cars are too heavy and big. And I've been down to Fontana, and that's, for some reason, who knows what it is. It's never a close race or there's not a lot of passing going there at Fontana. But boy, on a nice evening with the sun setting. Good weather down there, it is fun to see a race down there.
Yes. And then we have a favorite motorsports race, and I listed the Honda has a private museum that I've been to that you haven't been to, and I don't know why it's a private museum. There must be some reason or reasons, but when you go to it, the cars are beautifully spread out in this auditorium area, and there's one of every Honda vehicle, every Honda car, and every Honda motorcycle ever made. So you just get to walk around, and if the curator's there, just to look through the timeline of Hondas, from those little, what were they, Honda 600s back in the day, to some of the, so now all the Accords and Civics and all the SUVs now and trucks, and it's just really fun to see the whole different lineup of Honda. I don't know so much about the motorcycles, but I've had a few of the Honda cars. It's interesting to see the changes in them over the years.
Probably one of the more famous museums I can think of is the old Harrah's Museum in Nevada. It's been kind of broken up through the years. Not as good as it used to be. Yes, it's quite interesting. Yep.
And I also put down kind of in the same thing as one of the other categories is Mecum Auction, just because the area in one respect, if they don't sell a car, it kind of goes out in this open field. I'm sure you remember. Then you could kind of negotiate with the owner individually. So you've got an auction within an auction. You get to kind of walk around the area and look at cars and see what people might be interested in. I think you and I talked to a couple of guys a few years ago who were interested in a very specific Volkswagen Bug, and they were looking at the cars really carefully, trying to find a certain year, a certain style that had a certain thing, and I think that there was one in the area of cars that didn't sell, and I think they were going to pursue calling the owner individually for another kind of negotiation. So that's fun to see.
Yeah, they had a name for that. What was the name of that? The Corral that didn't sell. I guess people who put
close to that.
People who put reserves on their car and it doesn't sell, it goes into the next round of selling where people might phone and say, hey, I want that car. It didn't sell at the reserve of 10,000. How about 8 or whatever? I don't know. I don't know the negotiation, but the auction still helps people negotiate that.
Yeah, I didn't think that existed, and that was fun to hear about. And I forgot what it was called. It was like Second Chance World or something.
Maybe that was it. The Second Chance Corral or something like that.
Yeah. Second Chance Corral. So that's fun. And then in the same category is that I mentioned that it's fun to go to Mecum, but I also mentioned that in terms of cars driven, I had an opportunity, as you know, and you were in one of them with me, was a Bentley sedan and a Bentley SUV. I know the Bentley SUV is one of your favorite cars that we've had an experience with in the last few years. So Bentleys are really special. I mean, I've always said that they're kind of high-end pieces of artwork on wheels. They're just so beautiful and well-designed and upscale, and everything about them there's really no downside except, they're very expensive.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but the Bentleys,
yeah,
the SUV from Bentley, that to me, those Bentleys, they're a statement car. They do what they do well, but it's look at me, that's kind of what it is type of car. But the exception was that Bentleys, it was actually subdued. I mean, it looks like an Audi Q7 that it basically is, and most people wouldn't even know what it was. It's still, was it, over $300,000. But the beauty of that was it was low-key, and it did everything so well. Plus, you could take it off-road. What a great ski car, huh?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you're saving you and your wife are saving for that car now.
Got to get that one,
You got to get that one. And, of course, the interior was, beautifully designed and had a lot of, what did it have, like 5 or 6 or 10 different settings of a massage that you could have in the front seat or the back seat, and it had did it have a flute area there where you could put your champagne glass? I mean, stuff that was over the top.
It had the wine cooler in the back and that type of stuff. Yep.
So there was that, and then the last category was favorite motorsports race, and you and I have talked about this. I just got the biggest kick. It's been quite a few years now, but I had the chance to go to the MotoGP race twice, both times at WeatherTech Raceway here on the Monterey Peninsula at Laguna Seca. And I wasn't too thrilled about it because I knew it was going to be super loud, and I didn't really understand, why these guys would want to race so fast on motorcycles. And then when I saw it, I was just completely enamored by what these guys do and how few guys in the world do it. I don't know if there are any women MotoGP riders, maybe there is, but the guys I saw were, really well-known guys in their specific field. They all had entourages of 20 people. They're all, really into it, and it was just fantastic to watch. So the MotoGP, I think there's only one at America Raceway in Texas. I think is the only place in the United States that has MotoGP. But what a fantastic thing to see.
Yeah, it used to be at, wasn't that MotoGP used to be down there at, it's called WeatherTech now. Laguna Seca, but it's called, is that called WeatherTech? Yeah, they used to.
Yeah, WeatherTech.
Yeah, they used to race down there, but
that's where I saw it twice. It was, Valentino Rossi and Colin Edwards, and there was the Hayden brothers. These guys
Nicky Hayden.
I didn't, just naive. I never heard of them, but those guys are. Then there's other younger guys coming in now, but those guys are just fantastic to see. Their low-key demeanor, very laid-back guys, until they're on the motorcycle, and then it's just
fearless.
A whole other thing.
Yep. Fearless.
Yeah. So in terms of motorsports, what's the best race or races that you've been to that you'd recommend?
I think the best races are the ones where there are lots of lead changes. Gosh, that's so hard to say. I really like IndyCar racing.
Yes.
But I like the local dirt tracks too, with the super modifieds, the winged cars and on the dirt. I like that, and heck, I like mud bogs, and I like tractor pulls too. I like high horsepower up close. So that's
yes.
But I guess IndyCar racing on a road course.
Right. So. That was that. That's going to be. I'm looking forward to seeing when this woman. She hasn't responded to my answers or when it might be published, but it'll be. We get to promote. I get to promote my automotive website, TheWeeklyDriver.com, some in the publication, and we also get to promote our podcast in there. So that'll be nice to be in a national publication. I don't know. I don't have any idea when it'll be out, but I'm assuming it'll be soon. So we'll give people a heads up, and I'll do a little post about it. So that's going to be a little plug for us in our the world in which we control, our small world of our podcast.
Hey, that's great. Another topic, Rivian automobiles.
Yes.
What was that? There's a new press release on that from the guy Scaringe is his name. He's the founder. He's the Elon Musk of Rivian.
Yes. And so I guess this was announced June 10th. What's today? The 11th or the 12th? I'm not even sure. Today's the 12th, I think. Well, a couple days ago they announced. And all I could think of, Bruce, was when you saw some James Bond movies or other kinds of movies where, a plane, and maybe in the military, I guess it happens, where a plane can refuel a plane in midair. Right. And so now on the road, this Rivian, one of its locations is in the Bay Area, is going to, he announced, the guy that you mentioned, they announced that its pickup truck, one Rivian would be able to charge another. And I find that would be, what an innovation if that's true. I'm not quite sure how you find, if you're a Rivian owner, when you become one, next year I guess, how you find another one to recharge, if that's part of the equation. Maybe there'll be an app that you put the app in and you say, "Hi, John, this is Fred. I'm over in I'm in Monterey, but I'm in Carmel. Can we meet and I can charge my car?" I don't know how that's going to work, but I've never heard of that in the automobile world. Maybe you have, and what do you think? Have you had a chance to check it out at all?
You just touch them together, back tailgate to tailgate, and they charge like the new iPhones and your Android products now.
Wow.
I'm kidding. No, they're going to have to...
it's truck sex. It's truck sex.
They said there's going to be some onboard batteries you can buy, kind of like they make the analogy of carrying gas cans. Like if you're on a jeeping trip, the Jeeps have gas cans. Well, this would be you can buy auxiliary batteries you can store, and so that you could actually, with these stored batteries, they didn't say what size. I guess it'd be like suitcase size, really, if it's going to do anything, right? It'd be heavier than heck. You can take those, whatever these modules are, and you can share it just like a gas can. You go, here, I got an extra 10 gallons. Here's my my suitcase here. Plug in for an hour and a half, and you got some more juice.
Yeah, here it is. I'm reading through the press release, and it says the CEO also announced that Rivian models will be able to share a charge, with one truck charging another on a peer-to-peer basis. If one truck runs out of range off-road and another has the accessory batteries and enough juice to get home, the second driver could directly lend the first a charge, for example, like siphoning gas from one car to another or lending a gas can. This would be a first for electric vehicles. So it's exactly what you just said.
Peer-to-peer, yep. That's like Apple Talk.
That's right, Apple Talk. But it strikes me as, one more example of the cliche of the future is now. Who would have thought that would ever be part of the equation where, you could do that? And it's just one more example. Everything I read about Rivian, I can't wait. I haven't put any deposits down on the buy one. I'm not saying that, but what an interesting truck and SUV that's going to be. I can't remember. I just can't wait for it to see my first one coming down the road.
The Weekly Driver podcast gets support from AmericanMuscle.com, your late model Mustang and F-150 authority, bringing you the hottest products and top-notch customer service for over a decade. No one makes it easier to modify your ride. Visit AmericanMuscle.com today.
One thing that Scaringe also mentioned was battery charge rates, and that his were amongst the fastest in the business. And he was getting down on, I think he mentioned Tesla for these unrealistic charge times. He says if you charge them as fast as what Tesla is quoting, in 30 quick charges like they're mentioning, the battery would be shot.
Oh, boy.
So he says the industry really needs to get to some kind of a standard where it's a realistic charge rate that could be used over and over again and not destroy the battery.
Well, he said, it's far more advanced than I have knowledge of, but it sure sounds like this guy's an innovator with, let's just say, with his feet on the ground than Mr. Musk, who has so many things going and is very outspoken. And this guy sounds a little bit more even keeled, so to speak. At least to me, it does.
I wonder how you say his name properly. Anyway, his name sounds like a bad guy in a James Bond movie, Mr. Scaringe.
Yeah, I'll have to get some knowledge on that. And I mean, speaking of the same thing, I think we were also mentioned another unusual name. I don't know how you say it again. Sangu Motors introduces a bold Nuwa brand of affordable electric and alternative fuel vehicles with unique engineering, manufacturing, and its business model. And I don't know if you saw the picture, but boy, it may go right on the top of that all ugly car list. It just looks incredibly ugly, and it's a new two-door vehicle, unique modular configured vehicle, the size between a passenger car and a one-ton truck. Compact SUV will meet the needs of active families with room for 4 people in their gear. And it's, again, all electric with all kinds of new things, or at least new things that are promised. So did you have a chance to check that out as well?
Yeah, I checked that out. It looks like Sungao Motors from South Korea, and they're putting out a whole line of cars, and the cars look to me like, I think a golf cart has more style and grace than what they're building, and they're touting their plastic body. Well, they don't say plastic; they say what's the word they use? Carbonate or composite is the word they use, but it's plastic. Don't need to paint the surfaces, and what a wonderful thing this is. But yeah, their car is so ugly that I think you'd be stoned if you drove up in that thing.
It'd be like driving a new version of the Pontiac Aztek.
Exactly. But it was interesting. They said part of their lineup included a 1-ton pickup truck.
Yes.
So that would be interesting, because most of nobody makes a 1-tonner except for Americans, do they? Even the big Tundras are like 3/4 ton, aren't they? I guess you could get them.
I think you're right. Maybe you know more about that than I do, but I'm pretty sure you're right. Yes.
So this little company in South Korea who's building ugly golf carts think they're going to make a 1-ton truck. We'll see that. That's going to be interesting. And also they make electric scooters. And I'm thinking maybe that's where they normally are, is in the scooter business, because that's what their cars look like.
Hey, there's one other area that I didn't discuss with you before that I wanted to mention, and it's a little bit of self-promotion. I struck a deal with a company called Business Wire, and it's now available on my site, TheWeeklyDriver.com. On the right-hand side, it's an area that's called Recent Posts, and it's going to be changed a little bit to make it a little bit more prominent on the website. But basically what it is that it's a Business Wire, whatever field you're in, Business Wire will find content that's related to your field, in our case, automobiles. And so throughout the day, there's a constant feed of breaking news on the internet about automotive things. And so if someone goes to the website, TheWeeklyDriver.com, and clicks on one of those things that have particular interest in the automotive world, the content appears, the link to the content appears on an area of the website. But if somebody clicks on it, it goes to its own page on the same website, and then that information will be presented in its entirety. So you have an area that just gives you the highlights, and then you have an area that gives you the full information and contact information in other areas, wherever it might be. So it's a way kind of having an individualized news service on a specific website. So I was pretty happy to get that new negotiation and new relationship with Business Wire out of San Francisco. So check it out when you have a chance, Bruce, on my site. Not on the front page yet, but on any of the section fronts. It's there on the lower right-hand side, and there's some neat information on it.
That's cool. That sounds like peer-to-peer sharing. Where have I heard that before?
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
Okay, got it. So. Huh. Well, what else you got down there? You see any great cars down there in Monterey?
Yes. Lastly, I did this morning. I was bringing a colleague in, a friend of mine named Art Spander, who when I was a young guy. He's in his 80s now, and I was a younger guy. I used to read his stories in the San Francisco Chronicle, and I kind of became a sports writer because of this guy. And And since he's in his 80s now, I've been giving him a lift to the golf course at Pebble Beach the last couple of days. And this morning we saw a Ferrari, a new Ferrari. It's a smaller Ferrari, and I wasn't close enough to see what style it was, but I've never seen a Ferrari quite like it. It was almost like a, for lack of a better term, it was like a compact or a condensed Ferrari. It had a very unusual look to it in the back. It wasn't flared or didn't have any of that usual Ferrari look, but it looked pretty cool.
Huh? But you could see the name Ferrari on it.
Yes, it was a Ferrari. It did have the famous, prancing horse, but it just looked like a Ferrari I haven't seen before. Maybe it's one I should have seen before. I just was unfamiliar to me.
Well, if it's something new, it's going to be in Monterey.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you and I, with any good luck, will be back here next month for a day or two to interview some people at Mecum Auction and do some other articles. And then, of course, in August, with any good luck, we'll be back here for Monterey Auto Week. So we do have some other areas, some of our favorite areas that we'll be reporting on and talking about, and doing some interviews with interesting people who have all kinds. Could be a Toyota Corolla, it could be a one-off, Pagani. We don't know, but it's going to be great.
Yeah, let's do the one-off Pagani. I don't want to do the Toyota.
It would be great if they have those. God, we saw maybe 15 or 20 of them.
Oh, yeah.
Just in one area last 2 years ago. It took our breath. So it took everybody's breath away. It was just great.
Yep, it was probably about every one they've ever made right there.
Yes, probably.
That was the Quail Auction, wasn't it? Or not the Quail Auction, the Quail Motorsports Gathering, I guess they call it. All right, well, I think that wraps it up. It's actually good to talk to you, and keep up the good writing down there, and take some pictures of Tiger Woods for us. What are his chances?
I'll do that. Did you say Tiger?
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty good chance he'll win, but
wow.
I kind of, not that I'm rooting, but I think that there's so many other personalities and people who have done great things. I'm always kind of for the underdog, and he's not the underdog.
No.
But if he wins, of course it'll be worldwide news, because he's chasing Jack Nicklaus for the most Masters. He has 15 major wins, and Nicklaus has 18. And Tiger's had a controversial past last 6 or 7 years with all the things that have gone on in his life, and now he's back. He won the Masters. So you go through the list, 156 players, and every guy in the field has a story. Whether they're from a distant country, or they've overcome injury, or there's one guy in the field who's 17 years old. There's guys in the field in their mid-50s. So it's a very diverse field with all kinds of stories. And one thing I could try to find out is if there are any guys in the field who are card collectors. I forgot to ask, but maybe I'll find that out.
Okay, get on it for next time.
All right, take care, Bruce.
All right, you too. All right, bye now.
Bye-bye.
The Weekly Driver podcast receives support from AmericanTrucks.com, your late model Silverado, Sierra, Ram, and F-150 online aftermarket retailer, bringing you all of the hottest parts, from accessories to lift kits, from wheels to tires and winches. AmericanTrucks.com has the knowledge and know-how to make your wildest dreams come to reality.